Hey everybody, tafony here once again, and today I am rambling about Marketplace, Craigslist, Reverb, people. It's not a piece of gear, it's a concept. I guess it's mostly going to be just telling some stories, to be honest. So if you're into hardware, music gear of any variety, then you very, very likely have had lots of experience with trading and buying and selling used crap on the internet and in person after you've worked it out on the internet. So early on, I bought and sold an odd thing or two on Craigslist, then Facebook Marketplace when that came along. I have done both over this whole time. But when the unmentionable on YouTube times, I believe they are still unmentionable, when those times came along in 2020, I started buying or getting for free damaged and broken gear, mostly guitar pedals to start, and then moved on to pianos and synthesizers, and then into electronic music gear and Eurorack, and here we are today. But it started off with damaged, broken, mostly guitar pedals, and I mentioned all of that stuff in more detail in the Digitone 2 video, so if you're more curious about that, I talked about more there, but if you've been on any of those sites, you surely know how much of a joy it is to deal with them, and how it always can be, not exclusively, but most of the time. If you're the seller, then the buyers treat you like you're Jeff Bezos, and if you're the buyer, then the seller is just like flaky as, I don't know, a GP. If you know the meme, the no low balls, I know what I've got, it's something that's stretched far beyond the reaches of the zoo that is Craigslist and Marketplace. And if you know me personally, as many of you here do, I'm incredibly weird and neurotic and introverted, and I have severe social anxiety disorder, as the psychiatrist said, to the point people think I have some other more serious mental health conditions. And when I used to buy and sell stuff in the times before 2020, before I really got into doing it all the time, like when it was once or twice a year type of thing, I used to get like genuinely stressed about meeting people, and like it was very nerve-wracking having to interact with people like that. And I remember at the end of every meeting, like shaking the buyer or seller's hand, which is like super weird to me now, because that people still do that from time to time, but like it just seems like so weird and awkward. That's just like very me, right? And if you're a very neurotic and nervous person, why would you go and do something as touchy-feely literally as anyway, I just bring all of that up to say that like when I started, I was so like full of like negative excitement to interact with strangers like that I look back and like I think it's hilarious, because I would go on to do it like every day, right? Especially during the unmentionable time, like evenings, you would like meet two people a day, sometimes every single day, right? But I just mentioned that because I wonder like how much it used to make me nervous had any effect on like how much I would grow to like do it constantly. Like just be totally enthralled. It's like telling your, I don't know, this is like getting way too psychoanalytical, but like maybe your younger self, you just want to prove to them that you can do it. I'm a real human now, child, right? Anyhow, so there's 4 stories that I have off the top of my head that I want to cover in this video, and there are hundreds. There's like a million in any given year since this has happened that I could probably talk about or complain about or whine about, but I want to talk about 4 that I think are worth mentioning here today. First is selling my first drum kit, which was the earliest thing I could think of dealing with on Marketplace. There is the Paperclip challenge, there is the chair story, and then there is the I am having a bicycle story. So I don't think I'm actually going to do that in the order now that I'm saying it out loud, but I want to go through these all, and we're going to start with the oldest story that I could remember, and that is of the selling my first drum kit. So when this would have been in middle school, long before Facebook Marketplace, when I was living with my mom. Obviously, I was like a young child. My friend and I were drummers on acoustic drum kits, obviously, and my friend for Christmas or something had got a new fancy drum set, and he was selling his existing Pearl Forum drum set, which was black, which was a pretty big upgrade over my Pacific drum kit that I had. And like, being that Craigslist was not as ubiquitous as it is now, and that we were like literally like we would have been 14 years old at the time, you got like some like good deals from your friends selling you stuff, right? So I want to say he offered to sell me his drum kit for like $250, right? And I was like, okay, if I can sell my existing drum set for $250, I will buy yours for $250. So I went to my mom, I believe, and asked her to list my drum set on Craigslist. But you know what? In thinking I had to deal with the buyer, I had to, sorry, we're going back almost 20 years now. I had to deal with the buyer. I probably listed on Craigslist myself, and the buyer, I can't remember what happened with it, but he came by at some time. He showed up and knocked on the door, and I had my kit up for $250 like I wanted to get for that drum set. And he came in, and especially, I don't think this is as bad in this current day and age, but like I remember like the haggling back in the day, like you just like people didn't pay, like you put more on your ads, hey, as I remember back then, like, and this wasn't as far back as the story, but like even up till like, like 2012, I'd say, like those times, like you haggled. Like haggling was just like what you did, right? Like the prices, you never put the price you wanted on the ad, right? You just like put some stupid price in the expectation that people would knock it down, and they did. And I didn't know that when I was like 13 or whatever, right? So I put 250 that I needed for my friend's drum set, and this guy showed up. And so I was 14, and this guy was probably, I want to say, I thought he was like 65, but I was 14 and an idiot, so he was probably like 45. And I took him, we had set the drum kit up in like the spare room for him to look at, and he looked at it in the most Craigslist person fashion ever, and went, I don't know about this one, man. It's a beginner's drum set. I don't know what. And he went and, let me see if I can find a picture. We had these. So, I have floor heating on the sort of these kind of things. We had wood versions of these at my mom's house, and he was like looking around the drum set we set up in the spare room, like, I don't, like, to my poor $250 drum set, and he stepped on one of these, and it wasn't metal, it was like wood, sort of. This one isn't quite it, but like these, right? It was wood, and he just like broke through it completely. Like he just like stepped on and went right through. And this isn't the story, but it was just to say, like, he like didn't apologize, didn't say anything. He's like, oh, well, that shouldn't have been there. And it's like, and I remember my mom being, but she wasn't like pissed off, obviously, but like she was like, oh, like he should have like paid for that, or like, like what the hell. So anyway, he hummed and hawed and, did the tire kicking Craigslist dickhead thing. And he was like, all right, I'll give you 150 for it. And I was essentially like, no, like I have this other thing lined up. This is the price, right? This is what, I wasn't going to have any spare money. I just needed to, you're a kid. My allowance was $1 a week at the time. So I was like, in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to wait a year. Well, I'm going to have to wait 2 years if I want to buy the $250 drum set with that. And I'm not going to have a drum set in between. So he was like, oh, okay, well, best I can do is $200 final offer. And this guy's like in the living room. And it was such an ordeal that like, to do all this that you're kind of screwed, right? And to this day, people still, try and pull out sometimes, like show up to look at it and then be like, oh, like, oh, you dickhead. Anyway, it's funny because I remember this, it goes for a lot of things at the time. I promised you it was rambling about episode. This goes for a lot of things at the time that, like, when you're younger, they like suck. When adults do shitty things to you, it's kind of like, oh, like, this sucks, but you know what? Like, when I get older, I'll be like more established and it won't bother me as much. And then now that I'm older, it's funny. I'm thinking like that bothers me more now that like how could you fuck over like a 14-year-old like that? And so, if you've known me personally, you know all my stupid stories have punchlines. But so I said, okay, I'll sell some other stuff on Craigslist. I'll take the $200 because it's hard. Like my mom had to be home. I had to get like it was an ordeal to get this freaking to show the thing right to some Marketplace goof. And so I settled. I said, okay, I'll take 200. And then he's like, okay, can you help me load it in the car? So he gave me the $200 and I said, okay. So we pick up my my first drum set, one of my first musical instruments, my pride and joy, and that he had just lowballed me on, and we pick it up, walk out the front door, and he had like a oh let's see if I can find it. No, not that old. He had where I live, there's a collector plates program. If your car is like more than 30 years old and in pristine condition, these aren't it. Then you qualify for collector's plates, which is like special insurance and stuff. But he had like a fancy ass vintage car, and he like beat up like a 13-year-old over like $50. I'm just like, oh my god. Anyway, it like I said before about like when I'm older and I'll be the one doing that to all the kids or whatever. No, like the older I get, the more I'm just like, yeah, I was like exactly like this. The older I get, the more this just pisses me off. Like, how could you treat a child like that? Anyway, that's the first story. That's I wonder if that dude is still around 20 years later. If I thought he was 65 at the time, he probably actually is 65 now. But yeah, that was my oldest memory of Craigslisting. And maybe we'll jump forward to something a little more recently. So I'm with all of the repairing, selling, and trading at the start of that unmentionable time in 2020 that I mentioned. It like this probably not so much exclusively like 2020, but into like 2021 and 2022, like it really seemed like you could sell like anything to anyone at any price, right? Like in those times when you could when new stuff was out of stock on a lot of things, like remember when people were scalping Nintendo Switches and stuff, like in that time, like it just seemed like you could sell anything to anyone at any price, right? And if you're Canadian, you're familiar with this, like people had nothing but free time and were collecting CERB checks. Well, I wasn't. I had to work full time and didn't miss a day, but like the used market for musical equipment just went like absolutely bonkers, like completely bananas, right? So music gear of every variety, right? Whether it was guitar pedals when I first started or like buying and selling I repaired a reel-to-reel machine that my friend gave me when he was moving, and I remember reselling it, and there was like bidding war, like not bidding war, but these like sound like a house thing, I guess, but like people were like just like getting hundreds of replies and like people like offering to pay more than I was asking for it and stuff. Like it was just crazy. But I gained a reputation amongst my group of friends as being like the self-described marketplace mongrel through like just I don't know, all of this crap and buying and reselling and trading and like having different synthesizers every day, because it was so easy to like if you saw something that you know, especially when you're new into it, everything's exciting, right? As it still kind of is. But like at that time, if you saw something you were interested in, it was so easy to just like pick it up to try it out. I don't need to rent it. I don't need to like just go buy it and resell it if you don't like it, right? Half the time you could resell it for more than you bought it, like for used stuff, right? Like there was certainly little risk of like losing much other than time at that time, right? So anyway, all of that being said was just like in those days I decided I would try the paperclip challenge. So if those of you who don't know the paperclip challenge, I don't know if I think this is a one red paperclip. I think this is so originally done by someone named Kyle McDonald, who actually was also from Vancouver, funny enough, and he traded this paperclip to someone for a pen, a fish-shaped pen, which is actually funny because I'll talk about that in a sec. Traded it for a doorknob, traded it for a camp stove, traded it for, like, this is all pre-Marketplace stuff too, so that's really crazy. But like, anyway, traded his way all up to a spot on Donna On Demand, and traded it all up eventually to a home in Clipping, Saskatchewan, which probably that time cost about, I don't know, 5 raisins, but like still, like he traded this freaking paperclip all the way to a house. And the idea, people do this all, like people attempt this thought experiment all the time and get beaten up for it emotionally. So I thought I would try it at the time too. And naturally, I didn't set out with the intention of doing this. Here's the Instagram account from it at the time. Let's go all the way back. I didn't set out with the intention of, how do I say this? I didn't set out with the intention of doing musical equipment stuff, but it just ended up happening. So I listed a paperclip, and as I mentioned in that story, that this was originally by that one person who traded it for a fish-shaped pen, I traded it for a whole bunch of stuff. Now, the guy who I originally traded it to, like, he didn't actually want a paperclip in exchange for this interface, and he traded me a wooden fish that bent for some reason. It's not a musical one. It was just like a weird thing. And they traded to me it for this crazy, this was like in 2006, and this happened, I traded in 2020. This was like the highest of the high end of stereo interfaces. It's got RCA jacks on the front, but I traded that for that stuff. Here's me in my mask in the apartment and my paperclip off to trade it for that speaker system. He gave me a bunch of other stuff as well, which that's a Harman Kardon receiver, which was super fancy. He gave me a bunch of other random stuff, but I thought for the sake of like the challenge, it would be easier to just take the most valuable thing, and I traded that thing for these fancy speakers. And it was cool to see all the different stuff that people offered me, but eventually someone traded me a guitar. I forgot about the guitar. Holy crap. This thing, some crazy shredder LTD. That was an insane trade. I remember having a hard time trading that, though. I think the person who I traded it to had a hard time selling it because they let it go for a pair of speakers. But I traded that, which was a great trade, for this Fender DeVille. And I don't know why the person traded me that, but Fender DeVille, awesome trade. That was a huge win. And then I just about killed the whole challenge with this Randall. This guy, this is some insane, oops, didn't mean to like it. Well, we liked it anyway. This was just some insane I think this is 1,000 watt head, right? Like that was like ludicrously loud and obscure. And this is like the signature model of Dave Mustaine or something. I can't even remember. It was just like the weirdest, most obscure head that I traded DeVille for. And I remember like having a hard time. It was one of those things that like, okay, people were asking like $2,000 on Reverb for it, but like, what's it actually worth, right? Like, there's like, there was no volume on Reverb, so you can't say like, oh, people were asking 2,000, it was selling for $1,000. It was just like, just in this like purgatory of like, it's obviously not worth $2,000, but is it worth 1,000 or is it worth like 500? So, I basically killed the whole challenge with this trade, and the guy bullied me into like doing it, like doing the trade basically. And lots of people along the way would like bully me with trades. It was really weird. Like people like, and I kind of get like frustrated that like I don't know, I was jealous of that guy trading the paperclip for the house. I would be jealous of the guy trading the paperclip for DeVille, right? Like yeah. But people would say, oh, like they'd be like, oh, I have a broken electronic drum kit, trade me for that guitar. And I'm like, no, like, and they're like, well, like, and like get pissed off about it. I'm like, okay, whatever. But what I actually ended up doing with this was, it was up for a long time and nobody wanted to trade for it because that was a really bad trade and they didn't want to be on the receiving end of it. So I sold it for money and I purchased this SVT SVT3 Pro and a 1x15 cabinet, which were part of a sale for, it's funny, you can see that plant that I got for free on Marketplace at the time on the side. Yeah, there was part of the Vancouver Jazz Festival had given up, or they didn't have a Vancouver Jazz Festival in 2020, so they sold off all of the gear, and that included this SVT3 Pro and cabinet for like super cheap. So I gave it up and went to that. And I, at that point, listed it and wasn't able to get any decent trades out of it. Decided ultimately that it was a better amp head and cabinet than I was playing at the time, and I decided to keep it. Now, I did actually eventually trade it up for a different head, I swapped that SVT3 for a orange OB500, and I swapped the Ampeg 115 for a 210 of the Ampeg variety as well, but this isn't a bass video, we're talking about Marketplace, and that was the end of the paperclip challenge. I didn't get the house, obviously, but like, it's pretty remarkable that in that time you could trade a freaking paperclip for $1,000 amp combo. That's just to say what that time was like. But now, in saying that, I want to go into this here. You know what? We're going to blur this whole section here. I'm sorry. I rewrote and cut and edited and tried to crop and change all of these screen grabs so many times because I didn't want to give away either my own or the person who did this in questions info. But we're going to talk about the third story, and this is the I am having a bicycle story. Now, the I am having a bicycle story comes from there was a garage sale I went to. Someone was moving and they had a whole bunch of musical equipment, and I ended up like paying like $400 for like a bass and a pile of gear, like boxes of gear. And in that was a Newmark WS100 wireless microphone without the receiver. So that is like wireless mic. I think like those things are like $600 new or whatever, right? So, but without the receiver, like it's not worth anything, right? But I thought maybe I don't know, this is like stupid Anthony things, but I thought maybe somebody would want to use it for an art project, or maybe you had the receiver and a second microphone would be useful. Maybe it was useless, useful, whatever. I put it up on Marketplace for free. I listed it in all our local music groups. I don't know, someone had a kid who might like it, or a music video. So these are just like the copium things that you tell yourself when you don't want to throw something out, I guess. But if you've ever listed free stuff on Marketplace or Craigslist or anywhere else, you know how that goes, because my God, some of the people were crazy. There's so many stories that could be told here, but I'm going to just tell this one. So we're going to call this person Richard. No, I'm not trying to imply they're a dick. They're hilarious, but we're going to call them Dan, okay? This person's name is going to be Dan going forward. So Dan messaged about the microphone without the receiver and said, "Hi, Anthony, is this still available?" I had hundreds of messages about this, right? I didn't reply. They responded to this again. They double texted me. They said, "Hi." No, they say, "Hey, please reply at your convenience." I said, "Pending pickup." They said, "When?" Question mark, question mark. I said, question mark. I said, "I'll be there at 4 today." I said, "Sorry, it's pending pickup." I said, "Let me know if the person don't come." And I said, "Will do." And I messaged them the next day and said, "Hey, the person flaked. Can you come tonight?" And they said, "Yes, I can. Please share." Sorry, they said, "Yes, I can. Please share the location." I said, "I'm at the corner of the street where I was living at the time that I am no longer living at." They said, "Please share the adequate location." I said, "What?" They said, "How should I search on map? For example," and then I think they gave me their home address, because they just gave me a address in Vancouver. Anyway, I said, "That corner is here," and I sent them a link in Google Maps. And they said, "Okay. Hey, Newmark, could you please wait till tomorrow? The thing is that I don't have license, so I need a Class 5 licensed person who is my friend. He is available tomorrow. Could you please wait till tomorrow? Please, don't give to anyone else till tomorrow, otherwise my friend will not trust me anymore." I said, "When?" They said, "Tomorrow. Confirmed." I said, "When? What time?" They said, "Evening." I said, "Sorry, mate, I can't hold it. Message tomorrow, and I'll let you know if it's still available." And they did. They said, I guess I didn't sell it. Well, sell it. It's free. I guess nobody took it. They said, "Please share the location. I'm back from the job." I said, "It's still here," and replied to that link that I sent. And they said, "Is there any specific number? For example," they gave their home address again, I assume. Said, "So that I can search on the map." I said, "Nope, just that corner I sent. I'll meet you there." They said, "Okay. It'll take me 1 hour, 8 minutes to reach that place. I'm in Vancouver." I said, "That's too late for me." They said, "Could I come by tomorrow? Please hold for tomorrow." I said, "No holds. Text me tomorrow." I said, "Okay, tomorrow is final." I said, "Nope, check in tomorrow." And they said, "Check in tomorrow means?" I said, question mark, "Could I come tomorrow afternoon?" I said, "Message me tomorrow and I'll see if it's available." They said, "Okay." And they messaged the next day, 11 a.m., "Is it available? I can pick up today, as I'm at home." I said, "Yup." Said, "Thank you a ton. Please don't give it to anyone else. I'm coming." I said, "When?" They said, "In the afternoon, before 5. I said, "Message me before 5. If I'm still home, I'll give it to you." He said, "Okay, I'm on my way. Are you at home? Please reply at the earliest possible." I said, "All right, let me know." They said, "Hey, should I come? Are you available? If yes, I'll be there within an hour. Your response is eagerly awaited." And they said, "Hey, please give response. I'm on my way to your place. Could you share your contact number so that I can..." This was in the span of 2 minutes after this person had delayed for 3 days. So, "Could you share your contact number so that I can call you at the time of pickup?" I said, "Okay, text me when you're there and I'll go meet you." They said, "Okay." In retrospect, I think I was being kind of a dick by not giving Dan my number, but like, come on, man. You delayed for 3 days and then you're like, "Give me your number. Come on, just meet me there." Like, dude, anyway. Anyway, he said, okay, thanks. Said, if you can give me 10 minutes heads up, that would be good. Just let me know. And then I said, okay. And then an hour later, he messaged and says, that corner is here, and sent me the link that I sent him. Said, question mark, copy pasted the link so that I don't have to scroll up to see the location again. Okay. Says, I'll be there within 25 minutes. This is at 3:43. Please be online. I said, yep, I'm leaving at 5 though. He said, means you'll be home at 5? Or you are at home? I said, I'm at home. Okay, thank God. Thank you. Okay, I sent him the thumbs up emoji. At 4:18, he sent, I'm 5 stops away from the destination. I sent him the thumbs up emoji again. 4:42, he said, I'm at the destination. Okay. I replied, okay, 1 minute. Where are you? He said, I am having a bicycle near Sunmart. Now, Sunmart, across the road. I replied a bunch of question marks to the Sunmart. So, to not dox my former self, as I don't live there anymore, actually, but in Port Coquitlam, where I grew up, Sunmart is in downtown Port Coquitlam, and Sunmart is probably 20-minute drive or, I don't know, hour and a half walk from the location I sent. It is nowhere near where I sent. It is, very, very far. So he said, let me share the location. McAllister Avenue, which is where Sunmart is in downtown Port Coquitlam, nowhere near where we mentioned. I said, that's not where I am. He said, then where are you? I'm at Port Coquitlam. I'm like, so I don't know if he just took the Port Coquitlam and typed it in the map and went directly to wherever the pin landed. But yeah, he said, I'm at Port Coquitlam. I replied to my link. I said, I'm here. He said, I'm near Ruran store. I said, never heard of it. Now, Ruran is next to Sunmart after I found out, but okay. Said, it's 2 kilometers from you. I'm coming. I said, sorry, I had to go at 5. Oh, well. Said, 5 minutes, please. I came all the way from Vancouver. Please, 5 minutes. And I said, you came all the way from Vancouver to the wrong place? He said, no, at your place. I'll be there. It's 2 kilometers from where I am now. Please, just leave it outside the door. I said, okay, if you're not there by 5, I'll label it and put it in a bag at that corner. It says, okay, please take a picture as well and label for Daniel on the front. I said, no thanks. Okay, I'm coming there. It'll take me 5 minutes. Okay, it took him an hour. So an hour went by, and I mean, when he says 2 kilometers, it's probably I don't know. I don't know the distance of the overpass that well, but like if you're on a bicycle, that would take you an hour, and it did. He said, I'll be there in 5 minutes. Okay, at this point, I'd already left to go to band practice, and I said, okay, it's in a bag against the fire hydrant. He said, okay, can you please take a picture and write for Daniel on it as well? I said, no thanks. And I put it on the corner where I agreed to meet him. And I had to go, whatever. I didn't give out my home address during these things because, people will go and knock on your landlord's door. There's, you can't, 3 hours after you're supposed to meet, right? You can't, anyway, you just no. Especially not for something free, right? So he did actually get it, though. He said, an hour went by since we talked about that, and he said, received. Thank you. All right. Remember what I said before about the punchline? He said, thank you. How it works. After putting the cells in the mic, we can use it, right? Could we charge it? This is a microphone that requires a receiver. It's the WS-1000. I put links to all the stuff in the ad. I said, great, thanks. He said, does it requires amplifier, or will it work after adding the cells? So, anyway, after Anyway, I hope you found that as hilarious as I did. Like, oh yeah, can I plug it in? That story's crazy. But as much as that was hilarious and ridiculous, I think there's like a more these stories are like super common, right? Like like all the time you meet people that are just like you know, this way about dealing with Marketplace. And one super recent one, I'll just like throw this in quick at the end here, that was I want to buy a chair off somebody. It was an IKEA chair. They're like $200 new. Person was selling it for $60. Sweet. I want to come get it. I'll buy it for my partner. I'll take her chair, and that can go in the new studio at my new desk. So I messaged the person. I said, hey, when can I pick it up? They live in basically a SkyTrain. SkyTrain is like our Vancouver transit system. They live in the housing where there's like no parking above the SkyTrain, right? Because there's never any parking around train stations. I assume that's a global thing. And they said, hey, text me when you get here. I'll give you the buzzer code to phone me, and you can come up. And I was like, okay, you're not going to like bring it down in the lobby, but whatever. I go and I parked in the parking garage that was like 2 blocks up the street because there's no street parking in this freaking place. I walk 2 blocks up to the apartment building. I take the number that this person gave me. I enter it in. It rings. Nobody answers. I'm like, okay. I text them. I say, hey, I buzzed. What's going on? He said, no, you didn't. I'm like, okay. I buzz it again. It rings. Nobody picks up. I'm like, okay. Then I text him again. I'm like, hey, buzzed again. And he's like, okay, try it one more time. And I was like, okay, buzz it again. And on the third time, somebody picks up on the like luxury condo, like the gentrifier phone. And they're like, who the f- is this? Why are you calling me? Blah, blah, blah. I don't. I'm like, hey, is this, we'll just call them Nathan. Hey, is this Nathan? It's like, who the f- is Nathan? What the f- are you talking about? Oh, I don't know what the fuck. And they hung up, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I texted him back. I'm like, yeah, that's not the number. They just yelled at me. And he's like, oh, sorry, it's this, and gave me a completely different number. It wasn't even like a typo. It was just like the completely wrong number. I'm like, okay. So I buzzed him, and then Nathan let me in. So I was like, hey, are you coming down? He's like, no, come up to the 35th floor. I'm like, okay. So I get in the elevator, go up to the 35th floor. I'm waiting on there. I'm like, hey, which he like didn't want to give me his apartment number, which I, given the other stories, I get you don't want to like give away your personal information where possible. So meet me in the lobby. Don't bring me up to your apartment. Anyway, he wouldn't bring it out to the door. He wouldn't bring it out to the elevator. He made me go into his apartment, into his office, and then try out the chair. So chair's fine. I sat down on it, whatever. Take your $60. I said, thank you. He's like, okay, see ya. I had to carry it out his front door and back to the elevator, right? So I'm waiting for the elevator. I hit the button. Waiting there. The elevator door opens, and the person inside just looks up like, here, let's play. There's the elevator opening. They're like, they see me and they're like, oh no. And I'm like, and the lady in the elevator's like, you know what Diane said about the unscheduled moves, don't you? And I was like, sorry, what? And she's like, you can't be having unscheduled moves. You know what Diane said at the last Strata meeting. And I was like, who's Diane? And she's like, Diane, the Strata, the Strata head. I can't remember what she said. She's like, the head of the Strata Council. And I was like, oh, this isn't a move. I'm just taking this chair. She's like, it's furniture, isn't it? And I'm like, oh, okay. And it's like the smallest elevator in the world. So I'm just like, okay, I just like get into it. She's like, well, they have to put up the when you go in an elevator and they put all the padding up. She's like, they have to put the padding up. They have to, do a schedule. They have to reserve you the elevator. They have to blah. And I'm just like, okay. Was this guy so afraid of entering the elevator with it that he just like made me do it for him? Like, I was like, okay, whatever. I'm like in the elevator with this person who's like, And I'm like sitting there with this chair, like, okay. Whatever, we go down 2 floors. Yes, the story keeps going. We're sitting there, I have the chair, I'm chilling, and we stop at another floor. Person, it opens up, ready? Here's my face. There's 2 people. There is mom and dad. There's dad with the full stroller, mom with one of those, like, mom has a second baby in one of the little carrying baby things. Sorry, I don't know what it's called. It's like a basket with a separate baby in it. And I'm looking at them, I'm like, there's no room. Like, wait for the next train. And they're like, oh, you know what Diane said about unscheduled moves? And I'm like, what? And he, like, guy got in. I'm like, okay, well, there's no room for all of us, right? And he's like, no, the girl got in. So I, like, literally had to, like, sit on the chair, like, straddle it, like, backwards, like, put it up against my face. Like, it was so funny. Like, and then she looks over and she's like, Diane spoke to you about this already. You can't be doing this. And I was like, at this point, I'm just like, okay, you know what? Diane and I have a history. You should go and speak to Diane directly about it, because we've talked about it directly enough already. And she's like, well, the next strata meeting, I'm going to bring it up. And I'm like, okay, you do that. And then, of course, I parked 3 blocks away, so I had to walk out the front door, and I'm carrying this rolling chair up the street, like, hobbling along. And so if someone in your building is very frustrated about the unscheduled moves and wants me to speak at their strata meeting because they think I'm living there, I guess, then you can let me know. Yeah. The moral of the story is that the Marketplace Craigslist goof is me, and not, you got to have some, my friends always just say, like, I don't know, I get a kick out of the stuff, right? I'm here for like 45 minutes talking about it, but like, you value your time more than I do, because good God, like, people put you through a loop. All right, I'm Tafony. Thanks for listening to my rambling. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.